Yo, what's up, my good people? This your boy B Todd, and this is Talks with Todd, the first episode. Now, before we get to all of that, I just want to say thank you to everybody that's been rocking with me. I appreciate the love for real. Even if you didn't agree with what I was saying, I still appreciate it because you took time out to check out one of my videos. Thank you. But today, we talking about from rapping to podcasting. Now, I want to say I was around 8 years old when I moved to a different neighborhood. For those of you that don't know me, I am from Detroit, Michigan. But at this time, I was living on the west side, and I was off of 8 Mile. And I met my homeboy James, and him and his brothers introduced me into, they made me fall in love with hip-hop because of who they was putting me up on. Now, I did listen to music, but not like that. So it was a lot of stuff that I wasn't privy to. So around this time, I was really stuck on Bone Thugs and Harmony, Snoop, and Pac. That's all I would listen to. I wouldn't listen to nothing else. And then for a while, I was just stuck on listening to Bone because I was fascinated with how fast they rapped. So little did I know, my boy James knew how to rap as well. Now, once I knew that he could rap, I'm like, damn, how he know how to rap? Did he teach himself? Like, I was confused that he knew how to rap, and we was so young, and he was dope. Like, he was lyrically probably better than some of the people you hear now. So I was trying to find my way with rapping, and I just couldn't find it. So one day we had a neighbor that was always stirring up drama, and one of her boyfriends called herself being in the gang or whatever. So I had ended up making this diss record over an old Puff beat. So when I made the record, you know, they all laughing at it, you know, like not laughing at it like it was whack. They was laughing because it was actually a funny song. And that was my first time ever putting together a song. So fast forward, I want to say 2001. Yes, 2001. I had moved to this city called Inkster. And Inkster is probably about 30 minutes away from Detroit. So I moved there and I meet my homeboy Julian, who's also another lyrical assassin. And I mean, when I say lyrical assassin, I mean James and Julian both could rap about whatever and make it sound dope. So I really wanted to get on that level because I had no dreams or aspirations of being nothing other than a rapper, okay? I didn't care about no job. I didn't care about getting no college degree. I knew I wanted to do that. Like, if I didn't want to rap, I wanted to be in the entertainment industry in some type of way. So that was my goal. Entertainment. If I can't be a rapper, I'm gonna do this or do that. That was it. I didn't care about no college degree. I didn't care about no high paying job. That's all I wanted. So I worked towards it. And by the time I met Julian, you know, we clicked. We was both from the west side of Detroit. We was cool. I found out he rapped, so me and him got to chopping it up about stuff. And then eventually one day, we got into it during our senior year. And when we got into it, we had a mutual friend that kind of instigated the beef between me and Julian. And it was partially my fault because around that time when I get in my ego, I would talk too much. I would talk real reckless. So I told my homie, I was like, listen, bro, if Julian even think about coming at me with a diss record, this how I'm about to get him. And I spit a couple of bars that I had just came up with on the fly. So this conversation took place over the weekend. By the time I walked through them doors on Monday morning, oh boy, was I getting looked at crazy. Because Julian dropped the diss record, thanks to you know who. So the diss record, this was funny about Julian's diss record, right? His diss record was over one of my favorite songs at the time by Jay-Z called Is That Your Chick? Now, the psychological craziness level, the craziest level that Julian was on. Julian picked that beat because at the time I was digging this girl that ended up not letting me get my shot but gave somebody else the shot at my high school. So I'm at school hot, but I'm like, you know what? This is cool. I get to brush up on my skills now. So I ended up going to my homeboy that lived out in Ypsilanti, which is probably every bit of 20 minutes from Inkster, okay? So I go out there. I told him, I said, listen, the dude that I'm about to diss, his favorite rapper is Nas. make me a beat that sound like Ether. Now around this time, it was 2002. This was around the time Hove and Nas just dropped their diss records. Actually, both of their albums was already out. So here was, I'm thinking, okay, let me go ahead and get a beat that sounds something like Ether instead of just dissing them over Ether. Didn't turn out good. I was a novice rapper, and so a lot of the stuff that I was saying wasn't fitting well with the beat, and I didn't know how to chop down my lyrics to let it fit all with the beat. So I ended up telling him to pick. I ended up picking another beat. When he picked up another beat, I'm listening to it. I'm like, now this is what I can rock with, and it had more of a more southern sound to it. So I rapped over that. Everybody was like, "Oh, B got you, B got you." You know what I'm saying? So I was like, "All right, cool. I won that battle." I wasn't aware of Julian's competitive drive at all. So he came back quick as hell with another record. So I'm like, damn, he rapped over the truth. I ended up rapping over the truth as well, but I failed. Like, it was an epic fail for real. And Julian, he just barred me up. He barred me up on that on the truth beat. I tried to bar him up too, but it wasn't hitting the same. It was more so jokes than it was real type of bars. You know what I'm saying? So, anywho, Julian made another diss record. Oh, actually, I take that back. I made another diss record because everybody was talking about how I lost. Again, I'm in my ego. So I'm listening to this. I'm rapping over. I'm not rapping over no beat. I tried to go through beats. I couldn't think of nothing else to rap over. So I said, you know what? I'm about to rap a cappella. And while I'm rapping a cappella, after I'm done, I'm talking mad shit. And that's exactly what I did. Now, Julian made another diss record, but it was super personal. And he only let a few people hear it. He didn't let the masses hear it. So everybody was saying that I won. Now, in my personal opinion, I believe that it was a tie between me and Julian. And I'm saying it's a tie because Julian lyrically had an edge on me. The only edge that I had on him is that I was comical. So that's where I believe that it was a tie. But yeah, if it wasn't for me being comical, I'd have got bodied. I'm just being real. So time goes on. I'm listening to me and Julian squashed our beef, and we ended up getting cool again. By this time, he started making moves with music, kind of developing a group. All kind of stuff was going on. So 2006 is the year that I really started taking rap serious. And Julian ended up partnering up with this dude who had a studio in his basement, and Julian was making beats, making records. So that's when I started working on some songs. And Julian kind of got me together as far as how to not necessarily like getting my wordplay together, but in a sense it was because he was telling me what words not to say. You know, what words to use, like instead of saying this, you should say this. You know, he was giving me direction with my flow kinda, because I didn't have any direction. Like, I was really a novice rapper. I didn't know how to structure a song. Julian taught me how to structure a song and make it sound like something. And that's what I got from him. Now eventually Julian ended up moving to where it moved to a different state, and I didn't finish making my mixtape. So luckily it was the mixtape era where you could rap over other people's beats. So through him and this other guy that we used to be cool with, we ended up doing the show. And it just so happened this guy hit me up one day to do more shows. I said, okay, cool. I'm about to link up with this guy, you know, do business with him, and start finishing out my mixtape, because after Julian left, I didn't have no other studio connects, nothing. So I'm like, okay, well, what else can I do? Like, you know, I can't just sit around and sit on these songs. I had like maybe 5 or 6 songs done around the time, and I didn't know nothing about putting out EPs or anything like that. I wasn't privy to it. So met this other dude. He's gonna remain nameless. But anyway, I link up with him. We started doing business. I finished my mixtape. Cool. From there, I ended up getting down with his record label, and we Unfortunately, things didn't work out, but when things was going good, they was going good. You know, I was getting paid for shows. I met other rappers that was dope, and I ended up developing friendships with. So everything was cool, but little did I know, behind the scenes, it was bad business being done, and you know, then every time I turned around, it was an issue with another rapper, and I'm like, dog, I'm not here to beef with everybody. I just want to make good music. So between that happening, I'm also going through the little slump where I wasn't getting the support I believed I needed. So I felt entitled because I was a decent rapper. I'm like, oh, you know, why am I not getting the love and support that I deserve? So I let that kill my drive, and I eventually stopped rapping. So fast forward to me being a father. I'm a father, and I'm married to somebody I didn't necessarily want to be married to, but I'm hanging in there for the sake of my son at the time because it was just him. But I'm just kind of like getting in this mode where I'm like, yo, I'm a loser because all I do is go to work, come home, pretend to be a husband, and be a father. Nothing else. So, you know, I'm going through that for quite some time because the highlight of my life was me working at a plant because that was my life for a long time, for 9 years. So I'm sitting up here going through all these motions, and then finally, you know, me and my ex, we break up or divorce from each other, and I'm still finding myself like, yo, what else am I gonna do now that I'm not rapping? Like, and then I'm still going back and forth with myself about rapping. So I didn't know what to do. So one day, shout out to my homegirl Brittany Williams again. She actually came out with a podcast called the Naked Homie Podcast. I'm listening to it on my phone. I'm like, yo, this is dope. You know, she telling the truth. She being completely honest, and it's fearless. So I'm like, you know what? I might need to do something like this. I put my wife up on it. She was like, you know what? This might be something you should do because it might be like your therapy that you need. And I said, you know what? You're right. So I dropped my first video 2 years ago, I believe, and it's called "Don't Ignore the Red Flags" or "Stop Ignoring the Red Flags." That was my very first video. Now, prior to that, I was already making other videos or whatnot, and you know, just basically me ranting. That's all it really was. It was just me ranting, and eventually that died down, and then I got back to it again. Then everybody started pushing me and my cousin to do a podcast together. So while I started creating content and he was creating content, we ended up eventually talking and then working out when we was gonna start this podcast. So the first episode we did, the name of our podcast was called Riding and Vibing, and we was in our cars literally driving around live on Instagram. Obviously this was around pandemic time, so or shortly after it. So yeah, that's how it all kind of started for me in getting into the podcast world. And I started just creating more content on top of, you know, creating content for the podcast. We would go back and forth about what we gonna talk about, and then eventually we ended up bringing in a third party, which is my homegirl Nay. And Nay, we just needed a woman really because I told my cousin Lo that we can't be the guys that's sitting up talking about women when no women are present to defend themselves or defend what women do. So that's how that happened. So yeah, that's pretty much my story of how I got into podcasting because, you know, without rap, I had no outlet. And obviously I've been to therapy before. You know, I went through trials and tribulations with my ex and, you know, games being played with my kids. All kind of stuff been going on to where it ended up being bad for my health. And I had to find something else to do because eventually talking to a counselor wasn't doing it either. I needed to do something that I was passionate about. And I became passionate about being a podcaster or a content creator once I realized I was changing lives. And, you know, I had some strangers hit me up and telling me that, you know, I motivated them and helped them get to a different place in their life. I had people that haven't seen me in over 20 years hitting me up saying, yo, B, you won't believe what happened, man. I stepped up my game with my wife. You know, I had to, and I also stood up to her because I wasn't taking this and that. And I'm like, yo, this is it. This is it. I found my purpose. And even if I don't get paid for this ever, I don't care as long as I know that I'm helping somebody. Obviously, I would love to get paid for something that I'm passionate about, but knowing that I'm helping change lives means everything to me. And this is how I got here, man. So listen, I hope y'all enjoyed this episode. I got many more coming. I'm not sure whether I'm about to post every week or post every 2 weeks or once a month. I don't know yet, but just know for sure that more content is coming. Remember that. Indeed.